Esto nos da una visión de lo que tenemos que empezar también a cambiar dentro de nuestra sociedad. Muchas veces creemos que todo esto lo hacen o lo hacemos personas porque nos tachan de feministas extremas o simplemente porque no estamos en la onda de la juventud, entonces no nos gusta la champeta, y no es eso, es lo que acabas de mencionar, son esos códigos culturales que son mal empleados y que está en nuestras manos la responsabilidad de empezar a transformarlos por bien, no solamente de las mujeres, sino de la sociedad en general. ¿Qué te parece, Laura, si escuchamos un poco a nuestro auditorio? Porque sabemos que hay algunas preguntas, entonces vamos a algunas preguntas y luego regresamos para hacerte otras preguntas a ti. ¿Te parece? Bueno, vamos a empezar por acá porque levantó la mano el primero. No sé dónde está el micrófono, aunque ya. Ya. No, todavía no.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to speak in English or in Spanish, whatever. Perhaps in English it will be better understood, although my English is perhaps a little bit weak. I'm a little bit ill at ease with some of the things you said, although basically agreeing against all that has been called violence and what it means. I'm a French-speaking person. We have the same thing in French. Some songs of a rapper was speaking about women just in the way of champeta. I don't know what it is, but anyway. I'm a little bit. I'm taking gentlemanly issue with the fact that there is no middle ground with what you say, and I would like to explain. First, giving my own example. I once discovered I was on a train with a woman and a man, and she was sexually aggressive. I don't know why, but I decided to intervene. So I had to fight. That's a good thing, I would say. On the other hand, I'm a director of a company, and we had in the board a discussion for a couple of hours if we would stop advertising selling mattresses with a girl in a small bikini on top of a mattress. And I recognize I voted against prohibiting this advertising. My own feeling is that, in a way, we shouldn't forget the cultural issues about that. You're British. It is known, I'm living in Spain and in Colombia, and in some of the countries in Latin America, also dwelling. In England, for instance, if I were going to salute a man, or to say him hello, in the way I'm doing that in Spain, the gentleman I'm speaking to would feel deeply uncomfortable. My patting his shoulder, my giving him a kiss. This is completely out in the UK. When I've been living for more than 1 year in Brazil, if you were explaining to the girl, no, the question is why the middle ground is just, if you didn't tell the girl, secretary, that she was beautiful, she would feel ill at ease. And if you go to the US, and if you tell the secretary that anything that she's well dressed, you can have a problem. So my question is basically, this is all right, and we have right to push to have this violence getting down. But there are also cultural issues about that. Some things are accepted in some countries without the meaning that other countries are giving that. Would you agree with this statement, or what would be your position about it?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to stress that when we talk about men standing up and stepping in, we don't necessarily mean physically fighting. That there are so many different ways to encourage people of any gender to take part in this fight, and that it can be reporting something that you've witnessed. It might be supporting a survivor or somebody who's experienced something. It might be bringing these issues up when in discussion. It might be teaching a child. I didn't mean to suggest that we were expecting men to kind of physically intervene always. It's not always safe to do so. But I do stand by the fact that, very specifically, I think once you know about the problem, I feel like you can't sit back and do nothing. I don't mean for 1 second that you have to get into fights, but I think that it really falls on all of us the responsibility to try and be part of shifting the culture whenever it comes up, because this crosses all of our radars. At some point we will all be in a situation in which we see something sexist happening, we see somebody being discriminated against. We're in a meeting at work where somebody's dismissed because someone's worried they might have a baby, so they won't give them a promotion. We see someone being shouted at in the street. We all have opportunities that come up when we can say something and step in. And I stand by that, I think. In terms of what you said about cultural norms, we have 18 project websites around the world, including one in Brazil. I've just recently come from Mexico from speaking to women there about starting the project. And the impression I get from them is that I don't think it's true that every woman there would be upset if her looks weren't commented on, if she weren't objectified in that way. I don't think it's true that you can sort of write off entire swathes of the world and say the women there love it, it's fine, it's what they want. But I think that perhaps what's really at the root of the problem here is that what often happens is that there is a blurring of lines between complimenting somebody and harassing them. We often get men saying, well, I can't even say that somebody looks nice today now, you know, it's not okay for me to admire somebody's outfit. But in reality, I think there is a line there, and it is very clear, and part of it is about context and the situation you're in. And if you are in the workplace and you comment on a woman's looks, then you are treating them differently from a man in that situation. You're creating a situation in which their value is different, and that could have a knock-on impact on their career. But also more widely, I think, women know the difference between somebody saying, excuse me, but you know, I think you look nice today, or I'd like to go out with you, and somebody shouting, breasts, from a moving car. No woman has ever run after a man who shouted about her breasts from a car saying, please wait, won't you marry me? I think that, you know, that difference, is clearer than many people would like to admit. And I think that there is only a very tiny grey area that you really, when you get down to it, where you really don't know the difference. And perhaps in the case of that grey area, maybe we could try for a while not doing it. If in doubt, if you think you might be harassing someone or objectifying them, don't do it. For argument's sake, and let's see how that does. But I think really that it's oversimplistic to suggest that this is cultural. It's oversimplistic and I think offensive to suggest that there are women in certain countries who desperately want to be objectified and welcome this. And I think it's important really to make the distinction between women who dress up and go out and want to look beautiful and the fact that that's absolutely fine, as it is for men who want to look nice and look their best. And the fact that women don't want to be treated as an object. They don't want to be judged on their looks in the workplace. They don't want people to think that they have a right to their body in a public space, the right to comment on them without their invitation. And I think that actually that line is perhaps clearer than people might suggest.
Perfecto. Yo quisiera saber si la publicidad salió o no. La mujer